Hello, today's guest is David Maurice. David is Principal of Interiors at Wingates in New Zealand. Wingates is an award-winning architecture and interior design studio with offices in Auckland, Tauranga, and Hamilton. It's known for blending strategy and human-centered design and place-based thinking across commercial, workplace, retail, and built environments. Before joining Wingates, David spent a great many years at M. Moser Associates in London. M. Moser Associates is the same company I work with. He's helped lead projects in one of the world's most demanding markets, so he deeply understands global standards and local nuance. Across his career, David has navigated complexities of designing workplaces that respond to culture, regulation, future flexibility, and so much more. In our conversation, we'll dive into how leaders can achieve change, localize global workplace trends, and deliver design that matters, all within the context of that unique New Zealand background. So if you've ever wondered what it's like to expand into New Zealand and have your workplaces there, this is the show for you. So it's good to see you. And as I said before, I'm really interested in getting down there. I hope to get down there soon. You mentioned an island that I ought to get to. What was that?
Well, about 35 minutes from the CBD by ferry is Waiheke Island, which is renowned for its wine, particularly, but also different types of food experiences. And I certainly believe that anyone who comes to Auckland needs to go and spend some quality time in Waiheke. And I hope when you come over, we'll go and do that.
Well, when I follow your Instagram, I'm amazed at the beautiful places you go all over New Zealand. Yeah. It's just wonderful.
No, so I thought we just
I thought we could just get into. I don't know much about New Zealand technically, and although M. Moser has offices in Australia and all over Asia, nothing going on there that I know of. So I wanted to learn a bit, and I did a tiny bit of research, but I'm not really that familiar with it. I thought we might start with the aspect of cultural-led workplaces, if I can call it that. And I know I'm going to butcher the name, but there is a popular name that it was a previous, earlier original name of New Zealand, and it's making a comeback, and I understand it's more popular. And there's even a movement, perhaps, to replace the word New Zealand with this word. Is it pronounced Aotearoa? Is that
Aotearoa.
Right? Aotearoa.
So Aotearoa is Maori for the land of the long white cloud, and it is used quite a bit at the moment, particularly over the last sort of 10 years or so. People use New Zealand because that is the official name of the country, but Aotearoa is also a very popular way of describing the country.
Okay, well, it's new to me, so I've only learned about it recently.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering how Maori values and the iwi tribe, I guess iwi is the name for tribes, how their engagement shapes your company, Wingate's design process. Does it have any impact on it?
Yeah, I mean, Wingate's is an architectural firm, so we do both architecture, commercial, and interior workplace projects. Now, and Auckland is a global city. It is a very culturally diverse city. We have people here from all over the world. A lot of people from Europe, a lot of people from Asia Pacific, people from South Asia, and also, we have a lot of Maori and Pacifica people that live particularly in Auckland City, and it's actually a very culturally aware part of the world, I believe, anyway. I don't know if you know much about the Treaty of Waitangi, which was signed between the Crown, the UK Crown, and the local chieftains in New Zealand back in 1840. Now, that's really essentially the sort of the foundation of how New Zealand has evolved in the last 185 years. And everything I think that we do these days in New Zealand business is very much with the treaty in mind. It's the Tiriti to Waitangi, it's called. And when it comes to something like workplace design, it's quite a refreshing way of approaching a project. I think a lot of culturally led design is really much around the 3 Ps, which is sort of the partnership, protection, and participation. It's about early stage engagement with the community. The community, the land, the understanding of where that particular location is actually based, and really how that can sort of benefit the community, whether it's a building, a hospital, a commercial building, a residential unit, a retirement village, or even a supermarket. But it's all about ensuring that there's early stage engagement.
Wow, yeah. So lots of cultural sensitivity built into the entire system.
Yeah.
So, what can global corporate real estate leaders learn from embedding this kind of authenticity versus, tokenism in cultural design?
I mean, one of the purposes that Wingates has is our main purpose is creating places that truly matter. So I think, believe you ever embarking on any real estate project or anything that sort of you're going to create an environment that people are going to experience and occupy, I think you need to look at, be guided by values that are caring, that are curious, and that perhaps are even courageous. There are, and excuse my pronunciation, but the values of what they call here, which is kai tiaki tanga, which is the stewardship of the land and resources, and then there's also another one which is manaki tanga, which is caring, generosity, sort of hospitality towards people. That's very sort of fundamental with all design. Ensuring that when you're creating a workplace, you're creating it for the people that are going to use it, and actually they feel part of that community, part of that farm. In New Zealand, there's another word called whānau, which is more than your family. It's your family and your friends and your community. And a lot of what we do, and I'm obviously, I'm what they call a Pakeha, New Zealand European here. But I fundamentally believe that it is a human approach to actually ensuring that those environments ensure productivity, but also almost a happy experience with being at work.
Yeah. Well, you had one foot in the UK and I guess South Wales, but you spent most of your time growing up also in New Zealand, right? So I guess you still consider yourself a New Zealander as well. Well,
no, I'm sort of. I grew up in South Wales, but I also spent a lot of time here when I was younger as well. I was one of those people that with a New Zealand mother and a Welsh father. I was always going to be enjoying rugby and also being near quite a lot of sheep. But New Zealand's become very much my home. I've been here 13 years now. This time, living in Auckland. My girls have grown now from 4 and 1 to 17 and 14, and embarking on their own journeys, and it's all been very, very quick, but also quite a fun 13 years.
Wow. So you're very much embedded in the community. And you were talking about that greater community. And I guess this sort of leads to the fact that there's a good custodianship of the land and what I would call sustainable considerations as well.
Yeah, we're very keen, and there's growing awareness of the need to be, very sustainable here in New Zealand, particularly in the real estate market that we're in. The New Zealand Green Building Council is quite an active and very sort of important association that our industry is aligned with. Sustainability is particularly sort of forefront when it comes to new builds, and also with interiors as well. There's the Green Star interior, which is actually the Green Star accreditation, which is looking at some of the key tools for landlords and occupiers when looking at an actual environment that's been designed. And then there's also Neighbours, which is more of a sort of an Australian New Zealand type sort of accreditation, which looks more at a sort of how can I say it? More of the sort of excuse me a second. Sorry, I was going to more on the energy ratings of that particular building.
Right.
Usage of the building. So the Green Star is more around the sustainability, and then there's this sort of the Neighbours more accreditations more around.
So they both work together in different. They both work together in different aspects.
But I mean, there's a big use in New Zealand now for local timber. There's a lot of growth in the actual use of timber in projects. There's recently been a project that actually has been delivered in a city called Tauranga, which is in the Bay of Plenty, which the council there have developed their new building, which is probably one of the sort of the most foremost timber buildings in New Zealand. And it's something which people are really keen to develop more, and it's a far more sustainable way of delivering and constructing.
So I guess when people want to move there, they have to get familiar with Green Star and neighbors. And what else? Maybe seismic. I understand there's earthquakes are moderately
well, we're not
prevalent.
called the Shaky Isles for nothing. I mean, it's very I mean, where I am in Auckland, we don't have the same sort of frequency of earthquakes. I was in Christchurch in the South Island about a week and a half ago, and there was a small shake at about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and there has been a particularly significant earthquakes there in the last sort of 10, 15 years. Christchurch itself is actually been completely changed in the CBD as a result of the earthquake in 2020.
Oh, I think everybody worldwide remembers that one. But the seismic compliance, what does that mean for office leasing and retrofit?
So they have something called NBS, which is the seismic rating for a building. It's a seismic code. Now, all buildings need to have that particular rating. And from top of mind, I think, if anything less than 34% is sort of legally a risk to a tenant. Anything above that, or around 67%, is sort of seen to be a good accreditation and can really be acceptable for leasing and for occupation. And it's important. And most buildings these days, particularly since the Christchurch earthquakes, need to have that seismic rating.
Okay. And I read somewhere about a first 90 days checklist for multinationals entering New Zealand in terms of regulatory and performance. Do you know anything about that?
I actually, when you sent it to me, I wasn't entirely sure where that was. I mean, I wasn't sure about that myself.
Okay. I'm forgetting where I read it.
Yeah.
But we can skip over it. It doesn't really matter that much.
I think going back sort of if you're a corporate that is looking to come or expand into New Zealand, I think it's really vitally important to align yourself with a local firm alongside perhaps your advisor in your global advisor, but a local firm understands the nuances of the consent process, the authority process, and obviously the cultural and sustainable sort of questions that need to be addressed.
Anything off the top of the head that comes up about that as an example?
Well, getting consent, building consent for projects in New Zealand is depending on where you're going, is sometimes quite an arduous process, and I think that's actually also something we need to be cognizant of, is that some of these buildings that we have here are pretty new when it compared to something like Europe, but maybe not as built as well. So it's important perhaps that that there's proper due diligence is done and the consent process is followed.
Okay, but there's different sort of. My understanding is you deal with different sort of contrasting delivery models, and I was wondering if you have any examples of the contrast and ways that you can produce or deliver an interior or corporate fit out, whatever it might be.
Yeah. I mean, I think, in my time in this industry, I've seen from both sides of the aisle, so to speak. The design build methodology you'll find in Europe and in Asia is a lot more mature than you would find here in New Zealand. But it has appeared in the last sort of 10, 15 years, and there are organizations that do that. The organization I work for is more on the traditional side of the fence, aligning themselves with, a lot of the consultants that you would need in that process. There is a push, depending, I guess, on the need for a certainty of budget, certainty for program to look at how that project is procured. But in New Zealand, it's been very much sort of one say 50% traditional, 50% design build turnkey. And there are some quality organizations across the whole spectrum.
Well, I guess, and with your time in Moser, you've probably done both too, because
yes.
all this, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was with the London office of M. Moses, as you probably know, for 14 years, and during that time, they developed some fantastic projects and actually doing even better projects, I'm sure now, but, on all types of procurement methods and a very successful client-first philosophy, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think what we're often doing these days is entering through a need for due diligence and technical due diligence of buildings quite a lot, because buildings have to stay competitive there. There's been so much upheaval in the market.
Yeah.
But what about other type, like co-working? Is that popular in New Zealand?
Yeah, co-working has become certainly became quite a very popular way of occupying space in the Auckland CBD, in particular, in the last sort of 10 years or so. And there was a succession of co-working providers that sort of sprung up in the sort of the 2010s, 2015. And actually in Auckland, particularly in the sort of the heritage sort of marine buildings that that were there. And I myself, actually, when I first arrived, I based myself in a co-working space, which was fascinating and had actually a great. It gave me a lot of friends, which I actually really enjoyed, and they had that social aspect, which really needed, because I was coming from London and I didn't really know many people at the time. I remember working actually on an old school Space Invaders machine for many months, actually, as my workstation. And in fact, I remember having a conversation with you, Charles, on one day from my Space Invader table. So
yeah, I remember
that. But what we've also seen is a lot of the institutional investors, the developers, and the landlords have actually seen a real benefit by aligning themselves with a lot of co-working, so that they offer that co-working facility as part of their portfolio. So, for example, if a global organization, a big tech company or whatever is looking, they have that within their portfolio, but they're growing. They are able to actually allow that organization to sort of take space in their co-working.
Is that for? I'm just guessing, but is that for their own future expansion needs, so that they have it producing and useful until such a day that they might need it?
Exactly. It keeps their tenants, which they value, within their portfolio, and they're able to actually, as the use of shared spaces like meeting rooms or collaborative areas or places to have town halls. Sometimes people move or relocate because they don't have the space to hold these events. If they're within a portfolio that has an element of flex space, an element of co-working, they're able to actually, utilize that when necessary. But then also you have the more boutique co-working organizations, which provide the good coffee, the craft beer, and the cool bohemian.
All the important elements.
Exactly. So, and in New Zealand we have quite a lot of those. It's a country that has a lot of small businesses that are very innovative and very keen to meet people.
It sounds like actually a wonderful place. I'm sure you miss the UK and other parts of the world, but it's got so many advantages for a family. It's incredible.
Yeah. No, we've enjoyed it. We've loved being here, and it's been it's been a pleasure, actually. And the summers are always good.
Yeah, beautiful. Absolutely. But of course, reversed to the summer in the Northern Hemisphere. So Wingates. So I've heard about their philosophy of serious fun. That sounds good. How would you define that in terms of, keeping things energized and resilient? And I guess you could say people-focused.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like everyone, we try to be people focused. We're a very diverse set of people. We have an office in Auckland, which is our largest office. We have one in Tauranga, which is in the Bay of Plenty, which I mentioned earlier. We also have an office in Hamilton, and those are the three main sort of cities within the North Island, with the exception to Wellington, which is the capital. But those three cities are what we call the Golden Triangle, where there's a significant amount of the GDP for New Zealand comes out of that area. So you've got a lot of the dairy farmers, you've got a lot of the agriculture, and a lot of the fruit comes from that area. But we have people that are from France, we have people from Philippines, we have people from Argentina, we have people from Mexico, and we have people from China, and then also someone from Wales. There's someone from, and then we also have New Zealanders that are all part of our team.
Wow.
And our organization was founded by a chap, another David Wingate, who's still our managing director, 21 years ago, with that philosophy of, having fun, delivering projects, delivering buildings and places that...
Well, not just fun, serious fun.
Serious fun, very serious fun. And it's all about serious fun, because at the end of the day, you have to be serious. You have to make sure what you do is right, what you do is having an impact. But what's the point of doing something if you're not having fun?
Well, wonderful philosophy. Well, it's been really great catching up with you. And I guess I wanted to ask you, just sort of as a closing question, advice for corporate real estate people considering a major relocation. What advice would you give them? I mean, besides contact you, because that's the that's the best piece of advice.
Contact me, and I'll take you to Waiheke. Well, I think it's more than just square meters. Obviously you can get square meterage rates and lease rates and things like that, in many places. But I think long term, if you're coming to New Zealand, I think just understand that what is the cultural fit. Have a little bit of understanding about, things like seismic and sustainability, but really, it's really, really more about how the people, we are a very people-orientated country, very people-orientated industry. So understand how people think, get to know, the locals, because it's very important. New Zealand's still a very, very, very young country, but also people are very passionate, very, very proud of where they come from. And, I think, we did a project 2 years ago with a large-scale multinational financial company, and they came, they actually tried to understand, they came and they tried to understand, the Auckland environment, who the people that were going to be working for them, and really spent the time and effort to sort of really understand what is New Zealand in 2024, 25, which is a very different place to what it was 50 years ago.
Amazing. Well, you've been very generous with your time. I really enjoyed catching up with you. I've learned a lot, actually.
If you want to learn more, email David at davidm@wingates.co.nz or visit his LinkedIn page.